Hey everybody, this is Eddy Dacius. We here with another episode with Divine Purpose Podcast, and we have a wonderful guest. That's one thing we do here. We always have like big people, big shot. Like we have Dr. Nicole Price today with us, and this episode is brought to you by Eatcore. Eatcore, if you want to get in shape, if you want to look good, Eatcore should be your solution.
Now is the time to hop into the hottest 45-minute group fitness class around. Give us a try absolutely free with our free 3-day pass. Get a great workout and have fun at the same time. Whether an athlete or someone looking to shed a few pounds, hit core workouts keep you motivated and part of an awesome community, all in under 45 minutes. See you at the gym.
Yes, Eatcore is the solution. We also have another sponsor is Dacius Facility Management. Dacius Facility Management, they will manage your property with a variety of services. Call them now, 617-237-0106. Dacius FM.
Do you want to maximize the value of your commercial property and achieve optimal productivity and efficiency in your day-to-day business operations? That's where Dacius Facilities Management can help. DFM offers Boston area businesses help in key areas like building and preventive maintenance, handyman services, project and vendor management, and even security consulting at competitive rates. Call Dacius Facilities Management now at 617-237-0106 or visit daciusfm.com today.
Yes, Dacius FM 617-237-0106. Like we said, we have Dr. Nicole Price. She received her bachelor in chemical engineering from North Carolina A&T University, her master's degree in adult education from Park University, and a doctorate in leadership and management from Capella University. Those are my words. It's me reading it, and we definitely have Dr. Nicole Price with us today. Doctor, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you for being here with us. So we're going to have a great time, and I'm excited to know more about you, to hear your stories. So let's start with Divine Purpose Podcast. Divine Purpose Podcast. Let's go.
Welcome to the Divine Purpose Podcast, where we transport you along one of the more dynamic journeys of life. Have you ever been curious to know what it takes to become a successful leader? Or about knowing the secrets of life through the Bible? How about engaging in conversation where no topics are off limits? We will take you to new levels with guests who can help you grasp the importance of your calling. Now, here's your host, Eddy Dacius, founder of Dacius Facilities Management.
We've been waiting for this moment, and we have Dr. Nicole with us today. So we have a famous question, simple question. What can you tell us about you today?
I think the important thing to know about me is that I have been born the seventh child of 6 children. And knowing, or the 6th child of 7 children, you were probably doing the math on that, going, "What in the world is she talking about?" And I tell you, people always wonder, why do I talk about my birth order? Because we had 1 bathroom in our house, and I know that even for some people that is a privilege. But you learn a lot of different skills around leadership when you have to share 1 bathroom with several other people, and you have to be able to get in there. You learn how to negotiate. You learn fast. You learn the importance of necessary endings. You learn the art of subordinating your agenda for the good of the whole. You learn a lot of things when that is your reality that I think sometimes I even take for granted, but have certainly been influential in kind of molding who I am and how I see myself and how I view God, and almost everything. The way I run my business can all kind of go back to being the 6th child of 7 children.
Wow. I think I like this already. I like
Really?
this already. Yeah, because I'm gonna ask some more questions. But let's talk about some challenges you had in your life, and how did you overcome those challenges? Can you tell us three challenges most important in your life, and how did they challenge you?
One of the most recent ones is that at 45 years old, I found out that my father was not my father.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was just last year. And so my parents had been married 28 years. I was the sixth of their seven children. My entire life, I believe that my parents were my parents.
Yeah.
Um, Turns out, because of some situation with ancestry DNA, that just did not make sense. And upon discovery, I learned that my parents broke up for a year, and it happened to be the year before my birth. And during that time, my mom met someone else, and I was conceived. And my parents decided that they were going to raise me as their own when they got back together. So when my dad died on my 10th birthday, they did not tell me. Nobody told me when I turned 18. And it turned out that this was not a secret. Like my extended family knew, people at the church knew, my siblings knew. It was only a secret to me. And it was very disruptive. There's one thing that I think most people, even if they don't know the meaning of life and what God has them for, they kind of know who they are. They
Yeah.
know who their parents are. They know how they like to communicate, how they approach change, how they like to make decisions, even if nobody else does it in that way. They know these things about themselves.
Yeah.
Well, when you spend your whole life thinking about yourself, Price is my dad's name, and that's what my friends from college even call me. To learn that everyone around me knew something that I did not and had not shared it with me was disruptive. But it's been helpful on my empathy journey. It has helped me to empathize with people who have complicated stories in history. It's helped me to empathize with people who have shame. For the first time in my life, I had incredible amounts of anger.
Yeah.
And I was angry with people who I couldn't have this discussion with because they were dead.
Wow.
Yeah, but my biological father is living. He's 78 years old, and we have a good relationship. But that's probably the most recent challenge.
Mm. Wow. That's one thing I like about doing this podcast is we kind of talk a few minutes before we start this, and I didn't know that's where we will go, and this is related to me too.
Really?
Yeah, my this happened to somebody close to me, very close to me, and we didn't know.
How old were they when they found out?
Like 30s.
Yeah, it's really disruptive because here's some things people say that I don't know that they're thinking about. And one of them is, well, you're still the same person and your dad is still your dad. Well, listen, I don't know how not to love Lewis.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not what this is about. There's someone else out there and I look exactly like him.
Mm,
So many things about my personality are nurture, but other things are nature.
yeah,
And they didn't make sense until I met this man. And I feel like God gives us things when we can experience them. There's
yeah,
no
yeah.
temptation taking us, but such as is common to man. That God is faithful and who will, with the temptation, always make a way for us to escape so that we can bear it. And I think had I learned about this 20 years ago, I don't know that I would have been able to accept it.
So yeah,
Yeah.
you mentioned that there was some anger, and how did you? So can you take us to that process? Because I feel like I experienced the anger too, but at the end of the day, I wasn't the primary victim. I was just close. I was very close to that person. I am very close to that person. But can you talk about the anger, and how did you challenge it in terms of like making sure you didn't go down to the path where there will be no return?
Yeah, so I've always been Christian, and one of the first things that I learned was that don't let the sun go down on your anger.
Yeah. You're
Be
right.
be angry, but sin not. Those things. And so, what I realized about myself is that I never gave myself permission to feel what I call the red emotions. So when
Okay.
I think about anger, incredible amounts of frustration, depression, fury, I never gave myself permission to feel those things. I felt like to be a good Christian meant that you didn't feel those things at all.
Yeah.
But in this particular instance, I couldn't talk myself out of being angry. I
Yeah.
couldn't just say, no, you need to not be angry. I was furious. And I think my fury was coming from, I knew people knew, but they wouldn't tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the most. That's hard. That's hard. That's really hard because you feel like they was disloyal, So
betrayal is
yeah,
what
betrayal.
because there were about 4 months from the time I found out to the time I found my biological father. And I knew that the people I was asking, that they knew who he was. They knew more than they were saying, and they wouldn't say it. And so I ran across this book called Permission to Feel, Dr. Mark Brackett. And I started just labeling my emotions as I would feel them.
Yeah.
And no matter what red they were, I would label them. And if you understand, recognize, and label your emotions, then you don't have to repress them. You can express them. And then you think God doesn't know what we feel? God knows exactly what we feel. And so when we try to convince ourselves we don't feel it, we're the only ones who we are lying to. God understands anger. Jesus wasn't turning over tables in the temple in a peaceful state, right? That doesn't make sense. Paul wasn't, writing his letters to the churches and not having some level of anger,
frustration. Yeah.
There. And so through that process of labeling those emotions, what I learned was I was better able to regulate them. And then once I found my biological father, that was quite helpful because I learned that he didn't have any other children. So one is
But how did you find out?
How did I find him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's an organization called the DNA Angels. And they will help you if you have your information in any of the genetic sites like Ancestry.com or 23andMe. And it's free service. And I had been looking for 4 months, and they found my paternal grandparents in 1 day, and literally knew who my father was in 2 days. And so,
what got you to started this?
To find
what was, because it's an investigation. Like what kind of gets you to that path to even think about this?
Oh, so that's interesting. I didn't think about it. It came to me. It's hard for people to imagine now because I don't look like my mother. So I clearly don't look or act like the rest of my siblings.
Okay.
There's all of this evidence that said that I probably had a different dad, but I just didn't recognize it. But there was a person who was looking for her father, and she should have had a certain relationship to me, and she did not. And so, when you start unpacking it, you go, wait a minute. She's not my niece. Then what is, that's how I found out. But I didn't know who was. And so I'm like, is it possible that my husband is my cousin or something? Like you just.
Yeah.
And those things can be maddening if you don't have a way to process those emotions. And repressed emotions have nowhere to go but to come out at some point. And for me, it came out in incredible amounts of anger, not directed at anybody, just a low level amount of irritation every day. But I needed that because sometimes before that, when people would be angry, I would be dismissive.
Wow.
And so now I understand what it feels like.
You share. So let's go to maybe a good note on this, and appreciate you sharing this because this is huge. Where people can relate, a lot of people can relate, and we have guests who they told me this. like we just I just heard from you. Can you talk about your favorite childhood memory? Things you I know you said you learned some leadership skill because of the bathroom situation. So any childhood memory you can share with us today?
Yeah, so most of my favorite childhood memories have to do with what I get to do every day.
Okay.
My best gift is speaking from the stage
Yeah.
to thousands of people. And some of my favorite memories are talking in church. When I was a little kid, I thought I wanted to be a pastor. I don't know that that's what I want to be anymore. But
Yeah.
when I was little, I wanted to. And my gift is being able to be called on the spot and being able to speak
Mm.
extemporaneously about a topic. And one time that stands out to me was we were in a competition, and I was in like ninth grade, and we were given random topics, and we had 2 minutes to prepare in front of a large packed out church house. And I just really, that's when I found out that I love the roar of the crowd. And you know how
Mm.
church can be. You say something,
Yeah.
or they're like, amen. That for me is just like, oh, I think that's one. And then the other would be when I got to meet Colin Powell,
Wow.
the Secretary of
Yep.
State.
Yep.
And he came to my school when I was in high school, and talked about his life and things that he had overcome. Um,
Wow.
and so that was really nice. And I was with like 10 people. So we got to ask him questions and be close to him. And that was nice.
Yo, fantastic. That's fantastic. So let's take this turn in terms of accomplishment. So which of your accomplishment are you the proudest?
I think my accomplishments that I'm most proud of is probably that I've written 7 books
What?
at this point. Yeah, so I love to write, but I'd never taken the time to actually coalesce and put all my thoughts together in a book.
Yeah.
And one day I saw a woman at a conference, and she had like a whole bunch of her own books kind of lined up. And I remember being so impressed. I'm like, my goodness, sis, like, how do you have time to write these books? And she said that she just wrote for 10 minutes each morning. And I adopted that practice of typing.
Mm.
And if you just give it 10 minutes a day, by the end of a month, you've put some decent time. Like, let's say you only do it 6 days a week, you take one day off.
Yeah.
You have written for an hour each week.
Yeah.
And, if you do that for a month, you've got a pretty nice book started.
Yeah.
And so I'm really proud of my 7 books.
Wow, and congratulations. That's great to hear. And we're definitely gonna talk about your book in terms of your process. So let me ask you this question. What is the best compliment you ever gotten?
That I have a pure spirit.
Wow.
And I still remember the day it happened. I thought to myself, me, a pure spirit? Because I think a pure spirit is more like a pure person.
Yeah.
She didn't mean it that way. She meant that my yes was yes, my no was no, that I speak with a clarity, but a care and concern for the hearts of people when I do so. And I don't know, I can be really hard on myself. And I think I don't always think of myself as the kindest person in the world, the nicest person in the world. I feel like I disappoint God daily. And so to have someone say that to me about me was humbling, actually.
Did this happen to you where you feel like you need to accomplish more, but what you producing, people are cheering about it? Let me rephrase it. Like, let's say you just say, like, you say thank you to somebody, and then they take it that much because you even think about saying thank you.
And you're like, it's so basic what I did.
Yeah.
You've got people out here solving global climate challenge issues and, creating peace treaties. I feel like that, what am I offering really to the world? But even just this week, a woman came to me and she said, you don't remember, but when you started your business, you did a free coaching session for me and you saved my life. And I'm like, what? I mean, what did I say? I don't even say anything mostly in coaching. I just ask a bunch of questions to help you
Yeah.
think. So it's just a testament to, we just never know where people are in their journeys and what they need from us. And every one of us is a hero to someone, and we have to show up in that way every day. And I'm trying.
No, and keep trying, keep trying. So, when did you realize your life was, or your work, they were impactful to people? When is there a moment that you realize, wow, I need to really take care of what I'm saying, take care of my mind, keep working on my pure spirit? When did that happen?
I think it was probably later for me than it is for most people. I was, it was probably 2013 or so. So 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I would have been mid-30s. And I was doing a leadership keynote somewhere, and I got a standing ovation. And people were in line after, some people in tears, talking about how, what I had to say touched their hearts. And I was like, oh, this is a gift. And I have to make sure that I use it in ways that would be pleasing to God and not use it for harm,
Yeah.
Because everything we have, we can use for harm. I can use my words to hurt people. I can use my words to help people. And it's a heavy gift to have sometimes, because if I'm being just honest with you, I don't always care deeply about something that is important to other people. And so what do? Like, how do you handle your words when someone is upset or concerned about something and that's not a concern of yours? And that's when I lean into empathy and say, okay, I know what it feels like to care deeply about something. And if I care deeply about something, how do I want someone to react to me?
Yeah.
And so that has been helpful to me, for a person who's just I'm not naturally moved by some things that people get, emotionally caught up in. And so that's my work to do. That's what I'm still working on.
Yep.
If you're interested and concerned about how I'm, what I'm personally working on right now.
There is, and thank you for your answer. There is this trend where they're talking about self-care, and people are taking it more as a way of life in terms of well-being. Do you know about it? Do you really take care of it? Because we had a wonderful woman not yesterday, but the previous episode. She was talking about self-care, where she had her daughter, but she had to realize that she needs some time for herself to recoup, to recover, because you give a lot as a mother, or as a person, or in the family. So you really work for you're working. So there's like need to time to recover. Do you think about that? Do you get involved with that? What's your process?
Yeah, I do realize that I have some privileges that other people don't. So my son is 24 years old. I don't have little kids running around. Nobody's here waking me up in the middle of the night. But I regularly get 7.5 hours of sleep every night.
Okay.
Every night. And that is without exception. I move my body to make sure that, I'm getting my heart rate up. And then when possible, I'm doing that outside so that I'm getting sun.
Okay.
I try to eat real food and not too much. And those things for me, meditation, I need to be better about. I used to be like consistent every day, couple times a day, 20 minutes each time. I'm not as good about that anymore. But I need to be better about it. And just spiritual connectedness. I know some people are not believers, and I just don't know how they make it through this thing called life without it. But I will say, for me, that's what self-care is. It doesn't mean, vacations and massages. It's taking a bath instead of a shower. That releases stress from the body,
Yeah.
If I ever find that I'm feeling exhausted, sometimes just getting some sun is helpful to me.
Okay.
Going outside, getting some fresh air. And like I said, my ability to have my schedule such that I can do those things, I recognize is a privilege that everybody doesn't have. But one thing I know for sure is that the ability to sit still and calm the mind and connect with the body and just be present with your body is something almost all of us can do. And if you do that consistently, you'll find that your body's much better cared for.
Oh, terrific, terrific. Really like it. We like it. So let's go with this question about COVID. COVID happened and it's new for everybody. But one thing was sure is you got to adjust. What was your adjustment during COVID?
Yeah, so I think what was most interesting for me at the beginning of COVID was that my family, we were kind of hunkered down here together,
Yeah.
and the incessant amounts of cooking. Like people, it's like breakfast. People are like, "What we eating at lunch? What we eating? What we eating?" I'm like, I am not a short order cook. We got to figure something out, and then
Yeah.
everybody being here trying to work was also complicated. My son
Yeah.
was still in school at the beginning. I'm now working from home, and it was just the noise of trying to get around each other was interesting. But what I will tell you is that for those of us who might have been doing way too much before,
Yeah.
then we reevaluate.
Mm.
We spend some time reevaluating what matters, because for me, somebody was dying every month.
Yeah, that's the news. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Somebody I knew was dying every month. One person was like 50, and I was like, "What, from COVID?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there was just a little bit of reevaluation that was a big adjustment.
I just heard you said you work from home, but let me ask you this question. So working from home, like it's kind of challenging too, but you probably hear that people said, "Oh, leave work at work." So what's your process when you work from home?
Yeah. Listen, that was another adjustment. So I'm glad this has come up. I was working all the time because work was right here next
Yeah,
to me.
yeah.
And so now what I do is I work in my office and I don't work anywhere else in the house.
Wow. Okay.
And that helps me kind of like, okay, now I can do my morning routine when I come in my office. And then when I leave my office, I try to leave my work in here. Excuse me.
No
But
problem.
I will tell you that that took me a while to get to,
Yeah.
because you don't have that boundary. I didn't have a
Yeah.
boundary.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, let me get a grind culture has this interesting magnetic pull that you have to. It's not fruitful. I don't think. This is my opinion.
Mhm.
We need rest. We need to rejuvenate.
Yeah.
The ability to reset, to me, is like taking your car to the gas station. You got to stop for a little bit, fill up, and then you can keep going. If you keep trying to just go, then eventually the car just going to stop on its own, and it's going to be
Yes.
a very inconvenient time and place. And so I had to quickly learn that, I don't need to take my laptop into my bedroom. I don't need to, I don't need to have my laptop downstairs in the kitchen. So I've made those kinds of adjustments.
Wow. Wow. Good to hear, because we had people who said they work 80 hours a week during COVID because they couldn't separate the both. So sometimes when you work at an office, coming back, driving, you kind of get you ready for life or for family. But now it's like next room.
That's right.
It's next room.
I wrote a book in 1 month during COVID.
Yeah.
And it was because I was writing all the time.
So
Instead of 10 minutes in the morning.
No, that's good to hear. So we're gonna get to our break now. With we have Dr. Nicole Price with us. She will definitely tell us more, and let's go on break with it core.
Did you know that Hitcore Fitness is now an SBA approved franchisor? Now it's your opportunity to be part of a thriving business with multiple revenue streams. HIT and core strength group fitness classes, personal training and small group training, weight loss program and corporate wellness program, and much more. Crush your competition with higher than average member retention and get your return on investment in under 3 years. We'll see you at the gym.
What com-
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh, well, I don't wanna jinx it, baby. And twist myself at the spine.
Yes, DFM, the smart choice. So we back with Dr. Price today on our episode with Divine Purpose Podcast. We have Dr. Price with us today. So Dr. Price, let me ask you this question. What was your dream job in high school? I heard you said you wanted to be a pastor, but the question is, what was your dream job in high school, in college, and compared to what you're doing now?
Okay, so it changed quite a few times.
Mm.
So I wanted to be a pastor, but then someone told me at my church that women could be Sunday school teachers, not pastors. So I let that go.
Mm.
And then when I was in high school, my first job, I got a chance to work for a very successful hairdresser. She had a huge salon with lots of people working there. And so then I thought I wanted to be a hairdresser. And that was short-lived. And then I got my undergraduate degree in engineering.
Yeah.
I was good in science and math in high school, and so I got kind of pushed into the STEM careers. I studied engineering and had engineering internships, worked in the field for 10 years. It took me a while to figure out that my personality didn't agree. While I loved engineering, I just don't have the personality for it necessarily.
Can you tell us more? What type of personality you need to have?
Well, and I'm going to say less of need to have, and more of what works well with other engineering personalities. There's typically, there are exceptions to every rule. Engineers are more introverted in their communication style.
Yeah.
Far more linear, process driven, practical rather than conceptual.
Yeah.
Tend to make decisions purely on logic and reason and questioning in critical ways and very scheduled and methodical. I am not that. I'm introverted in every way you can possibly think of it. I don't really care how you get something done as long as you
get it done. Yeah.
The process doesn't matter to me. I wrote an entire book about empathetic and compassionate leadership and how do you lead with empathy and compassion? How do you look for harmony? Not trying to decide. And I'm very casual and spontaneous and open-ended. And that feels dangerous when you're in engineering environments. People are like, what
are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? But whenever we would be able to brainstorm new process ideas, whenever there were these big, hairy, audacious goals that need to be accomplished, things we had never done before, I was perfect for those kind of engineering teams. But if it was just run-of-the-mill manufacturing engineering, get the same number of parts out every day without fail, not really. That wasn't really my strong suit.
Oh no, it makes sense. So let's talk about because this question I started to ask people because I realized it's very important. Is there one thing you wish you knew before you started this career?
This one I have right now?
Yeah.
To start it sooner.
Wow.
I believe that I know that there are people who are like, just do whatever can make you some money.
Yeah.
I don't think that anymore. I believe that if you get to do what you're naturally good at, that
Wow.
money will come, and you'll find it'll just find its way to you. And I know that's my experience, and so I'm biased, but
Okay.
I'm legitimately trying to make money doing things that I felt people respected. Like if I say I'm an engineer, people go, "Ooh, that's
Yeah.
so today." But now I pay people the salary that I was making as an engineer because I'm doing what God has crafted me to do. And you can tell when somebody is just whether they're a baker, or
Yeah.
whether they like really detailed numbers. I just was talking with a historian last week, the way the man can just remember historical concepts and perspectives and names and dates. But he's working at the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service.
Mm.
And it's just like, what if he were providing historical references for people all over,
But, so quick question. We're just speculating, right?
Yeah,
Do you
completely.
think he miss, because we call this embrace your calling?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he miss it? Or
Do I,
is not? Do you think he's missing his calling? He's
I
not
do.
embracing in it.
I do. And I believe he's doing so because he thinks he's making more money doing what he's doing. But I'm like, God didn't call you to do that. And I think he's not having near as much fun either. So he's on Sundays, not looking forward to work on Monday, looking forward to every single day off. And it's like, God wants you to go to Nineveh and you're trying to go to Tarshish.
So, Dr. Nicole, you touch like a sensitive topic here, and
Oh,
which we're not even on a hot topic yet. But let me say this: do you think, because I think a lot of people are missing the boat. That's why I call it missing the boat, because you need to be somewhere, you're not there, and yeah, you're making money, but you're not fully living your purpose. What's the message for young people who probably gonna get to make that mistake, or people who already in that mistake in terms of living their life or not on purpose? So what's the message for them?
you know what I wish I would have had when I was younger? I wish I had somebody who said to me, Nicole, write down whenever you're doing something during your day that just gives you so much energy that if you were doing it all day, you would never stop. Like write it down and pay attention to what that is. And then I want you to take a moment to write down kind of when you're doing something, and even if you only have to do it for 10 or 15 minutes, it drains you. Because if I had spent time doing that, it would be so clear sooner what I should have been doing. Now, what I am grateful for, I'm grateful for my path, what I learned in engineering school, what I learned working in corporations in that way has been helpful to me. So I don't want people to think that they're wasting their time. But if fear is keeping you stuck someplace when God keeps opening doors for you,
Yeah.
now you gotta unpack that for yourself. Because I had multiple opportunities to do exactly what I'm doing today, but fear was holding me back. I was like, what about my 401k? What about my retirement? What about
Wow.
my car? What about my phone? What about,
Yeah, life, worries.
yeah, the ability to say that you have this high powered title somewhere. Oh, I'm the vice president of this. You know, eh, when you are in your calling, you're going to touch so many people, and God is going to make sure you eat.
Yeah, that's that's very true, because this is what I'm living now. So outside of being a host of the podcast, I am a locksmith instructor, and I'm also a project facility manager, and I have my own business. But combine everything I just told you, being a a podcast host get me to know, or to touch, or to talk with more people than I will never. So we never met before, right? But this conversation, if somebody is just taking it like we know each other, because we're just talking about things we were meant to do,
Yeah.
and it become natural. It become like something we knew each other before. So that's great to hear, and that's gonna lead us to hot topic, because we have definitely great questions for you. So hot topic is a segment where we're gonna ask you question related to your career, question our audience doesn't usually have a chance to ask people in your position. All right, we have hot topic with Dr. Nicole Price. So the first question for Dr. Nicole is, what is empathy journey? What is an empathy journey?
Yeah, an empathy journey is wherever you're starting, that's your starting point. But wherever you end up, it's that you have the ability to put yourself in the shoes of other people far more often. And as you do that, you can make better decisions and more accurate decisions, more morally correct decisions. Not that you agree, but that you get much better at tapping into human connectedness to help you with decisions.
Wow, well said. You didn't even crack a sweat, That's good. I'm just kidding. So now,
I was thinking it was going to be something hard for me.
No, don't worry. We'll get to it. So, Dr. Nicole Price gets it, right? She understands that if leadership is anything, it's personal, and that everyone can be a great leader. Why do you think everybody can be a great leader?
Because if you're leading in a place where who you are as a person fits, then you're going to be a great leader. So as an example, let's say you're really hard-nosed and you like structure, and you're less empathetic and compassionate, you're more logical, reasonable. You might not lead in a school, but you might be perfect for leading in a prison. Or let's say I am a person with a more tender heart, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. I like to bring a lot of people together. You might be perfect for leading inside of a faith-based institution or in a nonprofit. If you're introverted, it's perfect to lead in a journalistic organization like the New York Times. And I think sometimes people think, well, I'm too shy, or I'm too this, or I'm too that. Whatever you are, there's millions of other people who appreciate that exact same leadership approach. And so I think sometimes it's about putting people in the right spot.
So, can you, and I hear this, and I agree, but my challenge is if everybody is a leader, where are the followers?
Yeah, so I think about it in this way. So there's positional leadership, and then there's influential leadership. So even in times where I'm not the positional leader, like there's volunteer organizations where I'm not the leader of those organizations.
Yeah.
My job is to help influence people around me to get them to line up to the mission and vision of the person who is leading. Because if we decide that we're going to step down, step out, disengage, other people are watching us. I think that's what I mean when I say everyone can be a good leader.
Yeah.
Somebody is watching you. And what leadership example are you leading? Are you leaving them? If that's your children, if that's your neighbors, if that's your friend groups, somebody's watching you. Every one of us has somebody watching us.
And so this is what I believe, right?
What do you believe?
I believe that you need to know how to follow before you can be a leader.
I agree.
That's what I believe. But I think some people are skipping this. They forget the following part, and they want to be just straight leaders.
I had a really long conversation yesterday with some CEOs throughout the region where I live, talking about how do you hold people accountable when you're not accountable. So you don't have any personal accountability for your job, but you want to hold me accountable to mine. Like,
Yeah.
that is, I mean, you have to model for me what it looks like. And I think, honestly, I tell people all the time that I'd prefer, even for my own organization, I'd prefer to be number two. I would prefer for someone else to be running it, and I could just be a thought partner. So
Really?
I think part of the reason why people like to come and work for our firm is because I really do believe that. I believe that I'd be better following the leadership of someone else.
Why is that?
Again, we'll go back to personality. I just want to be the person who's like life of the party, out here ideating,
Yeah.
trying to decipher if an idea is a good one or not.
Wow.
I don't want to be the person who's responsible for operations necessarily. And right now, I'm responsible for both.
So this question is more about mentorship, where I asked, we had a CEO as a guest, so we've been having great guests, and I asked them this question. So who's your mentor?
Mine?
No. I asked that guest who's his mentor. So I realized that now leadership. Most people who they say they are leader, they don't have anybody who mentor them. So
That's too bad.
like, and then you calling yourself a leader. So what so how can you, so what is the best form for leadership? Like, this is the question. What is the best form of leadership, or technique, or what would you describe as the best leadership style?
See, I'm a fan of empathetic leadership. I think if you can lean into what other people need, because bad leaders understand this. They they use it for bad. But if really good people would understand people better, we could make better decisions. And when I think about the people who have influenced me into thinking that way, I have an entire bench. It's not like one mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah, who helped me with that.
So this is a question we usually ask before her topic, but I'll ask you, who has been your most influential mentor?
Today, I would say it's a man named Jim Nunnally. He is 80 years old. He's an octogenarian. He has worked in the prosecutor's office, so criminal justice. He's also worked in healthcare at the executive level. Just has a wide range of experiences across the globe.
Yeah.
And every day he talks with me, almost every day, just to make sure that I'm staying focused. I think the thing is, it's not as much as what we talk about, in as much as he shows me what it looks like for somebody to think that what you're doing is important enough for them to pour into and to care about.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful example. I mean, he has no earthly reason to do this for me, and he does it. And so I feel then the desire to do the same thing for other people. And it's been a delightful relationship.
Wow. Wow. So I think you, like I said, you said you'll do good on Hot Topic, and Hot Topic was great. So this is Dr. Nicole with Hot Topic. So let's go. So we get too close to the end of this great conversation with you, Dr. Nicole. Really appreciate it, and you being here with us on Divine Purpose Podcast. So let's talk about Spark the Heart.
Spark the Heart. So Spark the Heart is a book that I don't know that I wanted to write.
Okay.
So I do a lot of work in diversity and inclusion, race equity, and honestly, just in general, helping difference get along. So most of the time when people call me, their teams aren't getting along for some reason. Every once in a while, that's because of race or gender or sexual orientation. But it could be anything. It could be, these people are, we have clicks over here and clicks over here, and we've got this amazing amount of work to do. Or sometimes the folks who work by the hour are at odds with people who get paid by salary. And so one day I'm doing a session, and I'm in the room with some incredibly wealthy donors of an organization. And one of them raises his hand and he said, "I understand what you're saying here, but I was hoping that you would help me get it emotionally." And I thought to myself, I said, did he just tell me he don't care about what I'm saying? He just said he don't care about what I'm saying. But once I got over myself and I sat with it for a little bit, I said, I bet you there are plenty of people who don't actually care about issues related to diversity or, people not getting along for whatever those reasons are, because they don't think that it impacts them.
Yeah.
And so I said, when Forbes called, I said, here's what I need. I need y'all to get somebody to write a book about empathy that's not one of those holding hands, singing Kumbaya kind of books. And they were like, well, let us help you write it. And I said, I'm the worst person to talk to. And because it's not natural for me, I have to work on it. And so anyway, that's the title of the first chapter of the book, Why I Might Be the Worst Person to Talk to You About Empathy. But the folks can, as you can see there, download a free chapter and read it, or they can also listen to the first chapter of the Audible to hear how I kind of ended up on this empathy journey for myself.
Yeah.
But how empathy is not at odds with accountability, that you can drive incredible outcomes, and empathy can actually be the catalyst to it instead of the thing that's holding people back.
Wow. No, that's great. That's great to hear, and definitely people should check it out. So where they can have it?
Yeah, so you can get it on all of the regular spots where books are sold: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Bookshop. I have some copies, but my copies are for people who are willing to read it and critique it early, because the release date is not until April 25th.
So that means I'm getting one, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I have to ask. I have to.
Yes, let's do it.
Definitely. So let's talk about some fun part of you. Like you, I know you're gonna have books for our audience. Let's talk about favorite place to visit. What a favorite place you like to visit?
I'm so boring. But when I think about places I like to go, people are shocked to know that it's not on the beaches. I like the mountains.
Really?
I do.
Wow.
You know why? Because I like to be holed up with a book reading.
Oh.
And I like looking out over the vastness of the mountains.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing from the oceans, but man, and I don't have to be in these really tall mountains. Like sometimes it's just, I'm happy to be in the Appalachians.
So is there a question you wish I asked you today?
Well, don't you care what I like to do for fun?
Yes, I do.
I like to go to comedy shows.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
It's my favorite. I love to watch stand-up comedy.
Let me hear this. Who's your favorite comedian?
Cat Williams used to be.
Yo, Cat Williams is good. Okay. Who's the best then? Who's the GOAT?
Oh, you can't get me to say it. I won't say it.
Oh, come on.
It depends.
It depends. Mike Epps, baby. Mike Epps. Mike Epps is. It's not. Huh?
You think he's funny in stand-up or in movies?
I think it's funny in stand-up. It's just that's me. It's not like it's the best, but I just relate to his joke.
Yeah, he's funny. I like Dominique. I don't know if you've ever seen her. She's fantastic.
No,
I don't know her last name, but because she just goes by Dominique, and she's hilarious.
Dominic, okay. So I'm Haitian, so we starting to have Haitian stand up. So we had one in Boston, which was very great, and I experienced that. But I like Kevin Hart.
You like Kevin Hart?
But those are the ones. So I like Tracy Morgan. But
what about Earthquake? Not so much?
No, I don't watch. Like I said, if I would probably not a big comedian fan in terms of comedy fan, but when I usually there's is special on Netflix, I watch all of them. Like Mike Epps, I know I watch all of them for some reason. So
I really liked Earthquake's most recent one, and Dominique's last name is Witten. So if you get a chance to look at anything she's done out here, it's fantastic.
You probably know more than me because I'm just rely on Netflix. So I just rely on Netflix to go to like to watch the show.
to get your comedy.
Yeah, yeah, but you go to the actual show, right?
Yeah. Yep. But I mean, you can watching people on Netflix is funny. You should watch the Earthquake special on Netflix. It was good.
I'll give it a try. Give it a try. So, what else? What's the future hold for Dr. Nicole Price?
I can tell you what I hope the future holds for me. I hope the future holds for me an opportunity to be a professor again at university. I got a chance to do that for a little bit, and I loved it so much. And I hope that I get a chance to do that. And if not, maybe I can be like an honorary professor, kind of like Cornel West is.
Yeah. I think that would suit you well. I think that would suit you well. I think that would suit you very well. So, this is Eddy Dacius with Divine Purpose Podcast, and we had Dr. Nicole Price today, and she really did a great job in terms of talking about her career and her life in a whole, and we had a great time. So, last word for you.
Join me on this empathy revolution. I believe the world needs more of it. And if you just do 14 days worth of practicing, you can go to drnicoleprice.com and learn and join the revolution without anything required of you except for intention.
So where can people get in touch with you? I know you just give your website. Mm-hmm. Is there anywhere they can reach out to you directly or on your Twitter, Facebook?
Yeah, so on all social media channels, I'm Dr. Nicole Price. And you can also send me an email at info@drnicoleprice.com, or you can call. I mean, people don't tend to call, but if you want to call, it's 800-914-9205.
So it would not make sense for us to end this podcast without talking about Lively Paradox.
Lively Paradox is the company that I run. That I'm the CEO of Lively Paradox. And we do leadership development workshops. So if you have an organization or a company whereby you need people to help you with team building, or just you got big, hairy, audacious goals that you're having trouble getting through, call us and we can help you with that. And there's Dr. Ian Roberts. He's an Olympian and is a specialist at organizational turnaround. Lisa Gunderson knows the most that I've ever seen about internal and external communication and customer service. And then Jocelyn Shante is business development and sales. Yeah,
so yes, I think Jocelyn really helped me set up this. So shout out to her. So really want to make sure.
Shout out to Jocelyn, she's the MVP.
Yeah, she did a good job. So, like I said, this is Eddy Dacius with Divine Purpose Podcast, and we are Dr. Nicole Price today. And I think I had a great time. I think definitely we talk about great things, and I learn about your story.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Do you feel like you're living in your purpose?
I hope I am. But I think I think I am, and it's a journey for me, because I just embarked to it, and hopefully the impact will let me know if that's really the purpose I need to focus on.
Well, you have certainly impacted me today. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So this is Eddy Dacius. We had a great time. Please subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and follow us on all social media, and listen to this podcast.